So I watched The Boys episode 5, and this show continues to be good. It's just another solid episode. This one didn't, I don't know, it didn't feel quite as extreme, as outrageous, as shocking as the previous episodes, but I was more or less okay with that. Like, I was I don't think, and not every episode needs to be that. And this episode was just a compelling, drama. So I mean, I guess we can talk about Homelander first. Yeah, I mean, they're very much he's Trump, and Homelander is Trump this season, and I think it's interesting. I think it's cool. I actually haven't seen what a lot of people have been saying about the show, but I imagine that there are a lot of like these anti SJW people out there being like, oh, so what SJW garbage, but like it's, if they want to make a commentary on Trump, they can make a commentary on Trump. And clearly, in this episode, they're basically saying that, or because there's the idea of Trump that he was in there, he was in the president's position, but he didn't really understand everything that was going on, and all those underlings were like scared of him, but also thought he was an idiot. So, and that's very clearly present here, where like Homelander like trumped his way to the top, and now he's like running Vought, but he has no idea how any of it works, and that's pretty interesting. And like everybody that's there with like A-Train and the lady, the really annoying lady, the red-haired lady, like they're terrified of him, but they also want to be in those positions. So that's a very interesting dichotomy, although we see A-Train and we see her break a little bit, so we'll see where that goes. I'm sure it's going to go in a very interesting direction. And yeah, I continue to think Anthony Starr he's just great. I mean, he's just delivering one of the best TV performances of the year, as he always does in this role. And yeah, and I think this episode also hit on a kind of an interesting thing with Homelander when Maeve went to him and said, "You're alone. At this moment, you have nobody that loves you." And that's where he's at. He's at the top. He's alone, but everyone either doesn't respect him, hates him, or fears him. And that's a very dangerous position for planet Earth to be, for Homelander, for planet Earth to be in, for Homelander. I don't know how to say that sentence that I was going to say, but I think you get the idea I think you get the gist of it. And then I was talking about A-Train. Oh my gosh. That was, A-Train's whole thing is just like, it's really interesting commentary, because what I kind of get from it is that, they're obviously critiquing like over policing. And by the way, I'm bringing up all these social issues because, all these political issues, because that's what the show's bringing up. I'm not a political guy. I'm an idiot. I'm a moron. I don't want to act like, I mean, yeah, like I don't want to, like, if you love Trump, I'm not going to get into an argument about it with you. If you don't think that, black neighborhoods are being over-policed, I'm not going to get into an argument with you, okay? So but it's what the show is bringing up. And so obviously the show brings up the idea of over-policing happening in minority neighborhoods, as well as what I thought was super interesting was the position that that famous people in those minorities are put in, where A-Train clearly doesn't know anything about these issues, right? He doesn't know anything about about the black struggle in America. But as a black man in the position that he's in, not only does he like kind of over the course of the season, not only has he kind of genuinely felt the desire to speak out on these issues, but he's pressured by his brother and his community to speak out. And that's a really interesting thing, because it's like, if sometimes you have to wonder, it's like, okay, you're famous, you have a platform, and maybe you feel like, well, I have this responsibility. But like, I like the idea that this show that the show presents, of like, bro, if you don't know anything about this, especially if you're just doing it to get social credit, just don't talk about it. Just shut up. Just leave it to like people who know about this stuff. And I think that's really interesting, because I think it happens a lot where like celebrities will just talk about stuff, and it's like, bro, like, you didn't need to voice your opinion, like, you didn't need to come out and like you don't need to be a beacon of whatever social cause, like the black community or the Hispanic community is facing. And I thought that was a really interesting idea that was presented here, because yeah, obviously the way A Train went about trying to I forgot what the guy, what the superhero who was called, that was over policing black communities, but obviously the way he went about it was wrong. It was like, it's really dumb, and he probably shouldn't have done anything at all. And yeah, it's super crazy. But yeah. So yeah, I super like the A Train bit, but also I think it's interesting to talk about Huey and Butcher, because those are two characters that are really going down a dark path. And Butcher, I mean, he's already been a pretty dark character, but Huey especially so, where, like I mentioned before, what Victoria did was clearly just, it knocked a screw loose in Huey's head, and he just like isn't trusting of anybody anymore. Or not even trusting of anybody anymore, but it's like he feels the hopelessness of what he's doing. And the fact that he's now crossing all of these lines, and obviously like lying to Starlight and all of that, it's kind of sad seeing the downward spiral of this character. And then Butcher, like I still remember the episode of I think it might have been the second episode. Yeah, in the second episode, when Huey calls him and tells him about Victoria Newman, like, he was ready to give it all up and live with Homelander's son. He was ready to do that. And then Victoria Newman doing what she did just completely reverted him back to square one. And these two characters are just very tragic for me right now. And yeah, we'll see what they do. I don't know that, honestly, I don't know that things are going to end very well for them. But yeah, it's also going to be interesting to watch Frenchie in this season, and Kimiko. They're clearly establishing that, or they've established that Frenchie's just been kind of a people pleaser, I guess, his entire life. He's allowed himself to be controlled by people. He's never been like independent or whatever, and it's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with him and Kimiko. Also, what's going on with Kimiko's powers? Like, I guess, I mean, they're obviously insinuating that Soldier Boy has the ability to take away powers. That was kind of weird the way that they set it up, and that's a weird power for him to have, I guess. But I guess it was just a way to get Kimiko to be a normal person. And that's really sweet. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah. So yeah, Frenchie and Kimiko are really interesting, and also MM. Yeah, he's probably like the most sympathetic character in the show, just because I desperately just want him to have a normal life and care for his daughter. Like, he's just like the most, like, I want a good ending for this man, and I'm scared that he's not going to get one. But yeah, we'll see. But yeah, the fact that he keeps Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a trend here with the boys is that whenever they think that they're done with everything and they're just gonna live a normal life, they get dragged back in because of just this rage that they feel for Soups and for the destruction that they've caused. And yeah, so I'm really loving just the character work and the writing in the show. It's super strong. The performances are all really good. I don't know. And then Soldier Boy, I guess, as a character himself, it's interesting. I need to see really what they do with him. I need to see what he's about because I'm still not sure how I feel about the character because we haven't seen too much of him. Um, presumably, presumably he is Homelander-esque, right? Because the Crimson Scarlet, whatever her name was, she ratted him out or sold him out somehow. And that's very interesting because presumably he must have been a horrible person for her to want to do that. Because they even established in this episode that she didn't do it for like gain or anything. Like apparently she wasn't paid or anything. So, yeah, I think we're gonna find out more about that character and how not a good lad, probably. So yeah. What did you think about this episode? What have you thought about this season so far? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, like the video, subscribe. Don't cry. Be happy. Life's too short. You know what I'm saying? And goodbye.